guys, welcome to the episode of the Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. It's Tuesday, time to talk about some new releases for this Friday, March 3rd. There's about 400 albums total coming out. I got 12 on the list for today. There's a bunch of links down below. Make sure you go check them out. There's links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for our merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music weekly playlist that we put together, and of course also the Patreon page. Make sure you go check all that out. Of course, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that notification bell to be notified every time I release new episodes. Well, like I said in the intro, there's about 400 albums coming out this week. I got 12 on the list I'm going to talk about today. So if there's something I don't talk about on the show today, make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to picking up this week. And of course, like always, if you're unable to find any of the albums I talk about on the show today in your local record stores this week, I'll put links down below. Everything should be available online, except for the first one. The first album I'm going to talk about, I think it's pretty much sold out. It looks like everywhere. So I think the big release this week, as far as like pre-sales go, I think it looks like the big release. This is De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising. First released back in '89 is De La Soul's debut album. It looks like there's 4 different versions of this that are available. There's a blue version that's the Amazon exclusive. There's a magenta version that I've seen listed at a couple of different record stores in my area. There's also a yellow version and a black version. But as far as I can see from all my local record stores, from Amazon, from a couple of like big online retailers, it looks like it's pretty well sold out. So this might be a pretty hard one to come by. It's going to run you about $40 online if you can find a copy of it. Me, Myself, and I, and The Magic Number were the big hits off this album. It's a great album. I've got it on CD, so I guess I'm fine with it. With just having it that way. But Rolling Stone magazine, they had it listed as one of their top 500 albums of all time. Like I said, it is an incredible album. It's really the only De La Soul album I think I've ever listened to. Even though they are reissuing De La Soul is Dead here over the next couple of weeks. So maybe we'll see more of this coming out later on down the line. You also got En Vogue, Funky Divas coming out this week. First released back in '92. It's their second studio album, and at least in my opinion, it's one of the best R&B albums of the early '90s. Just a great album. It's going to run you about $43 online. It's on purple vinyl. This is a music on vinyl release. It's going to be numbered. It's going to be really limited. I think there's 1,500 copies of this are going to be available. It's their most successful album over their career, even though they did have some pretty big hits after this album came out. But this album was just absolutely fantastic. It had 4 top 15 singles on there, including My Lovin' and Free Your Mind. Both of them are great tracks. Like I said, fantastic album. If you're able to find it online, it's going to run you about $43. So it's kind of pricey, but I think you've seen those music on vinyl releases start kind of creeping up, 38 to low 40 range. So I guess it's kind of in line with a lot of the other stuff we've been seeing. This week we got the new album from Macklemore being released. This is his third studio album, at least the third solo album. It's a double LP. There's 2 different versions. There's a red version and then there's a black version. It's the only album I think I've ever listened to of Macklemore, at least as far as the solo stuff goes, is Gemini, which came out back in 2017. It's a really good album. I really like the stuff that he's done with Ryan Lewis earlier in his career. I'll definitely stream this one and check it out. It's only running about $30 online. It's not a terrible price for a new release, especially a double LP. You've also got Saves the Day releasing Stay What You Are. This is an album I talked about probably about a month or so back, and it got pushed back to this week. But this was first released back in 2001. It's their third studio album. It's on double 10-inch vinyl. It's going to run you about $51 online, so it's definitely pricey, especially for 2 10-inch LPs. It's on red and yellow splatter vinyl. It actually looks really cool for being a 10-inch release. It's limited and hand-numbered, but it doesn't say what it's limited to, so I don't know how limited this run really is, but apparently it is all hand-numbered. At Your Funeral is the only track I remember hearing off of this album, so it's definitely one I need to kind of go back and check out again. But like I said, for $51, it's definitely one I'm going to pass on. But I know there's a bunch of people out there that are really looking forward to this release. This week you get the next 2 releases coming out from the Blue Note Tone Poet series. If you're unfamiliar with the Tone Poet series and the Classic series, over the last couple of years, they've been releasing just a lot of great jazz music, a lot of stuff that's kind of flown under the radar or been out of print for years and years. But and I've discovered a lot of great music because of them. But the first one, this is Carmell Jones, the remarkable Carmell Jones, first released back in '61. It's going to run you about $39 online. I will say that the Tone Poet series releases come at a really nice deluxe gatefold jacket. They look really nice. I think it's definitely worth the $35 to $40 that they're charging for these albums now. This has Harold Land, Frank Staziri, Gary Peacock, and Leon Pettis on it. I'm sure this is going to sound absolutely fantastic. I'm definitely looking forward to that one. And then the second one is Andrew Hill, Dance with Death. First released back in '68. Has Charles Tolliver, Joe Farrell, Victor Sproles, and Billy Higgins on it. Same thing. It's all deluxe gatefold. It's going to run you $39. It's both of them are cut from the analog tapes. So like I said, Blue Note does a great job with this Tone Poet series. So there's a really interesting tribute album coming out this week. This is Ace of Spades, Born to Booze, Live to Sin, a tribute to Motorhead. It's going to run you about $28 online. This is going to be available on vinyl and on CD. This was all put together by Alan Boomer Davey, who is a protege of Lemmy. So I'm sure this is going to sound really cool. I'll wait till I'm sure it's going to be available on streaming services. So I'll definitely stream it and check it out. But it's got 19 great Motorhead tracks on there. There's also a clear variant on top of the just standard black that's going to be available. I think they both run about the same price, like $29. So like I said, it's not one I'll pick up this week, but I'll definitely stream it and check it out. And, I'm kind of a casual Motorhead fan. You also got Saigon Kick Water coming out this week. This was first released back in 1993, and it was never available on vinyl until the beginning of this year. I think it was February 3rd when it was first released on vinyl. It's going to run you about $33 online. One Step Closer, and then there's a cover of Space Oddity by David Bowie that's on here. I think those are the only two tracks I've ever listened off Water. So I definitely need to go back and check it out again. I'm a little bit more familiar with some of the other Saigon Kick stuff, but not this album in particular. So, like I said, there's both those last two albums I'll definitely stream and check out. The next album is one that I think has been reissued a couple of times over the last year or two. This is Enuff's Enough, Tweaked. It was first released back in 1995. It's their fifth studio album. It's going to be on green vinyl. I think the last reissue was on green vinyl also. And Tweaked is a lot harder of an album than what Enuff's Enough had done off their first 3 or 4 albums at least. And with this album in particular, their original guitarist, Gino Martino, returned to the band. And I think that had a lot to do with the kind of heavier sound that the album has. It's going to run you $28 online. I will say if you're a casual fan, maybe just a couple of the early hits from Enuff's Enough, definitely check this album out. I think it's definitely worth a spin. And then you've also got Kenny Loggins At the Movies being reissued. This is going to run you about $24 online. This came out for Record Store Day last year, and it was one I definitely picked up. I actually enjoyed this. Kenny Loggins did a bunch of great soundtracks during the 80s, but this has songs off of Caddyshack, Caddyshack 2, Footloose, Top Gun, and Over the Top. So like I said, he was just the master of 80s soundtracks. And this is on red vinyl. I think it's the same as the RSD release was. And I think there's not a whole lot on there. I think there's only 8 or 9 tracks. But for $24, it's not a bad price, I don't think. The next one is another one of those albums that, to be completely honest, I'm familiar with some of the band's earlier stuff, but I haven't listened to this one yet, and I still need to check it out. This is Scary Kids, Scaring Kids, Out of Light. This was released last year. It's their third studio album. It's going to run you $24 online. This is their first album since 2007. The band, if you're unfamiliar with who they are, they're one of those post-hardcore bands formed, I think it was 2002 when they first started. Released 2 studio albums, then they broke up in 2010. Their lead singer actually, unfortunately, passed away in 2014. And then they reformed, I think it was 2019, and did a 15-year anniversary tour for one of their albums. And, ever since then, kind of got back together and started playing together a little bit more. And then last year released this album. And this album has a different, guest vocalist on every track. So like I said, I've listened to some of their early stuff. I don't think I've ever listened to an entire album of theirs, but I definitely need to stream that one and check it out. I will say, if you, I'm a big Mod Sun fan. I have been for the last couple of years. Mod Sun was actually one of their drummers in the early part of the years. I think it was he was there in 2009 and 2010. So I think it was the last 2 years that the band was together. Mod Sun was actually their drummer. He's actually a really good drummer. He actually plays drums on his newer albums. But like I said, I need to kind of not only check that album out, but kind of dig into some of their older stuff also. And then you've also got Genesis BBC broadcast coming out this week. This is a 3 LP collection. It's going to run you about $60 online. It's got 24 tracks over those 3 LPs. There's also a 53-track 5 CD box set that's also coming out. This is a collection of songs recorded from by the BBC from 1970 to 1998, and has tracks by all three of the lead singers of Genesis on there. Like I said, Genesis is one of those bands that, to be honest, I like a lot of their like late 70s, early-ish kind of 80s kind of stuff, but outside of that time period, outside of like maybe an 8-year span of the band, I'm really kind of unfamiliar with some of the like really early stuff and some of their later stuff. So I definitely need to kind of go back and check that out. For $60, I'm not gonna pick this one up, but I'll at least stream it and check it out. Well, that's all I got for you today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Like I said, there's about 400 albums coming out this week. I only talked about 12 of them, and there's some big ones coming out. Like I said, I think that De La Soul, if you can grab a copy, definitely grab a copy of it. But I'll definitely stream the new Macklemore stuff. I need to kind of check out that Saves the Day. Definitely going to grab those jazz releases, though. Like I said, some great stuff this week, but drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.